Ladies and gentlemen, big escalation in the India-Canada diplomatic tensions after Canada crossed a red line regarding our Indian High Commissioner there. India has summoned the chargé d'affaires who arrived at the MEA a few minutes back. We had the live pictures coming in a few minutes back. I'm going across straight to the pictures because what is happening right now between India and Canada is unprecedented. Just when you thought the relations were at an all-time low, Canada has made it worse. And I'm going across to the pictures. Those are the pictures coming in right now. This follows India's very, very strongly worded statement on the diplomatic communication from Canada, saying that Prime Minister Trudeau's hostility to India has been long in evidence. In 2018, his visit to India, which was aimed at currying favour with the vote bank, rebounded to his discomfort. His cabinet has included individuals who openly associate with an extremist and separatist agenda regarding India. His naked interference in Indian internal politics in December 2020 showed how far he was willing to go in this regard. Such is the statement that has been released by the MEA a few minutes back, and we had the chargé d'affaires who was summoned. And he is on your screens right now at the MEA. I'm going across straight to, I have a special guest first of all on This Is Exclusive this evening. I have Vardhan Shringla. Vardhan Shringla is the Chief Coordinator for India's G20 presidency in 2023. He's also previously served as the Foreign Secretary of India. And Mr. Shringla, thank you for joining us first of all. You have been well versed with India's relationship with Canada. Very, very deep ties at one point. Would you call this the lowest point in the relationship between India and Canada, Mr. Shringla, with the developments today?
Yeah, I think the relationship has hit a low point. You correctly pointed out that we didn't think it could go any lower, but it seems to have. And, we just showed photographs of the Canadian chargé d'affaires being summoned. Now, that in diplomatic terms is a very, very strong, way that you protest a certain action by another government. You call the chargé d'affaires to specifically tell him that we don't agree with their point of view, that we have clearly, time and again told you that whatever allegations you're making, give us evidence. We have made multiple requests. You have not acceded to a request, but every time you go around saying things in the public domain. And now you have gone to the extent of actually implicating our High Commissioner to Canada, a diplomat of impeccable credentials, Sanjay Verma, someone I have known very closely. And of course, I think from that perspective, this is clearly unacceptable to us. And I think that's the tenor of what the MEA will convey to the Canadian chargé d'affaires, when he is met by his counterpart.
Mr. Shringla, the political differences apart between two governments, right? I mean, between two ruling parties, and there is a thin line between domestic politics and diplomacy, and often between India and Canada. We've seen that thin line being crossed, being broken again and again. In your view and in your observation as a foreign secretary, how delicate have the ties been under the leadership of Justin Trudeau?
So, India and Canada, have the potentials to take that relationship significantly forward. We are two vibrant democracies. We are multi-ethnic communities. And I think that given the fact that we have a significant diaspora in Canada, and there are a lot of Indian students also who are pursuing their higher studies in Canada, there is a huge amount of scope to take that relationship, forward. But unfortunately, the government of Prime Minister Trudeau has used the relationship, for their domestic political ends. And they are reliant on a party, and the leader of that party clearly supports a separatist narrative that is unacceptable to us. And as long as he's pandering to this section of the population, which is a small section, but nonetheless a vocal section which seems to have leverage on his, political base, the relationship will be constantly under attack and under threat, as we have seen. And time and again, I think this narrative has come out that try and separate the relationship from your domestic politics and look at the larger gains that the country will achieve by pursuing a relationship that is positive with a country like India that can offer so much in terms of mutual benefit to both countries. But Trudeau has somehow, ignored this rational perspective and gone on to really vitiating the atmosphere by bringing in domestic politics and making the relationship hostage to his own domestic, I would say, compulsions.
Yes. Have you seen the MEA use such language before? The strong language that we have seen perhaps indicates that India has had enough with leaders like Trudeau. What next? How far do you think the government is going to go in response to this move by Canada to try and involve our diplomats?
I think if you look at the statement, the press statement that was issued today, it's not only a fairly lengthy statements by MEA standards, but also a very strong statement, as you mentioned. And I think it has highlighted the fact that, Justin Trudeau in particular and the Canadian government in general have not been forthcoming in terms of, what we expect from the relationship, that the relationship has been politicized, that you have made allegations in the public domain, but there is not a shred of evidence to support those allegations, despite multiple requests from India. And of course, that you are using, this is a deliberate strategy that you're using for your own political gains. This is an anti-Indian narrative, and it's basically the investigation being weaponized for domestic reasons. And I think this is as strong as it can get. We have made several extradition requests also, it says, for people who are involved in acts of terrorism, extortion, gun running, drug smuggling, etc. It is in Canada's interest to cooperate on these, because if they allow this sort of situation to continue, it will impact adversely on Canada's social fabric. But Trudeau has not responded in positive terms, and I think the MEA is compelled, the government of India is compelled to make a strong statement to summon the Shahid affair, and it could lead to other steps by India as well. I mean, keep in mind that we've already taken certain steps. We've at one stage we had stopped issuing visas. We have asked the Canadians to reduce their diplomatic strength to bring it in line with our own diplomatic strength in Canada. A number of other steps. The Canadians have stopped trade talks, which could lead to a trade deal. So there has been a to and fro, and a number of steps have been taken by both sides. But there are other recourses that we have available with us. But we have to see the relationship from a larger perspective, and we have to keep in mind that other governments that may come in place of Trudeau might take a sort of a longer-term view, a more strategic view of the relationship, and might take a more visionary, and statesman-like perspective. And I think this is what the expectation is, and this is what we should keep in mind, so that you don't entirely, let's say, put the relationship in deep freeze. You keep the channels of communication open, you keep your diplomatic modes open, but at the same time, you make it clear that we cannot tolerate this continued sniping in the public domain without any substantial evidence to back it up. And I think that actually represents, in many senses, a direct attack on us in terms of the inferences that you're drawing. And we need to definitely respond to this in whichever way is possible.
My last question to you, Mr. Shringla. The government has said, the MEA has said in its detailed statement that the Canadian government has not shared a shred of evidence with the government of India despite many requests from our side, adding that this leaves little doubt that on the pretext of an investigation, there is a deliberate strategy of smearing India for political gains. And my specific question to you, taking off from this point, is to India, the Khalistanis and the Khalistani movement is nothing but something that borders on terror, borders on separatism. And these are terrorist groups that we are talking about, which have been openly getting support from the Canadian establishment. People like Trudeau have been openly backing a terrorist movement in India's view. And when these so-called Western nations lecture India on democracy, lecture India on freedom of speech. And how, in your view, how do these countries look at something like this, a government that is, the Canadian government, when it's hobnobbing with terrorists, right? How do they respond to such antics?
Well, clearly, they are looking at it from their perspective and their domestic perspective. But at the same time, I think it has to be made clear that, from a larger point of view, this is obviously something that impacts on the relationship, because you can't sustain this sort of, I would say, policy which impacts directly on the relationship. Keep in mind, you mentioned the Sikh community. The Sikh community consists of 2% of Canada's population, about 770,000 individuals. But the radicals, the anti-national elements are a very small percentage of this, but they're a vocal part of that community. And they're espousing a cause that has no traction back in India. So the Canadians, in a certain sense, are adding fuel, or rather are allowing this narrative to go through when there is absolutely no basis for that relationship. And there is nobody in our country that is saying that we want a separate state. The Sikhs are some of the most progressive and successful communities in India. And by supporting this narrative, I think the Canadians are doing themselves, and of course, their communities a huge disservice. And I think it would be in their interest to clamp down on the small and vocal community and allow the relationship to flourish and progress. And that would be far better for the majority of Canadians than pandering to this very small and vocal community that supports Justin Trudeau in his political career.
Yeah. Mr. Shringla, at the end of it, I think everybody is seen through the Trudeau government and the antics also, because Trudeau's popularity, as we know it, and is being reported openly even by the Canadian press, has hit rock bottom. And we know that ahead of elections, this could be a stunt. I'm not sure whether the people of Canada would buy that. I thank you for joining us on This Is Exclusive this evening. Harsh Shringla, the former Foreign Secretary, joining us live as India-Canada diplomatic ties hit rock bottom. Thank you very much, sir. I'm moving on to the next breaking news update that's now coming in the case of the Baba Siddique murder. Let me go across straight to that because... Thank you, sir. Thank you. We have breaking news now coming in that the Mumbai crime branch has received intel about the third accused, Shiva, hiding in Ujjain. Besides the Mumbai crime branch, police from Ujjain and Khandwa are also conducting searches. In Ujjain, searches have been carried out in several locations, including Begambagh, the railway station, bus stand, jail road. Searches have also taken place in hotels, lodges. Satya Vijay is in Ujjain on the police searching for the third accused in the Baba Siddique murder. Let me go across to Satya Vijay. Satya Vijay, what more do we know at this point about the third accused, his whereabouts in Ujjain? Let's play out what Satya Vijay sent us a few minutes back. Here's a report.
मुंबई में एनसीपी नेता बाबा सिद्दीकी की हत्या के बाद एक आरोपी का इनपुट है कि वो उज्जैन में हो सकता है, जिसका नाम शिव कुमार गौतम है। और उज्जैन में चप्पे चप्पे पर पुलिस की टीम सर्चिंग कर रही है। आप तस्वीरें देखिए, ये सर्चिंग की तस्वीरें हैं जिसमें डॉग स्क्वाड की टीम भी है और उज्जैन पुलिस है। इसके अलावा महाराष्ट्र से मुंबई क्राइम ब्रांच की टीम भी यहाँ पर आई हुई है और जो शिव कुमार गौतम है उसके फरार होकर उज्जैन में छिपे होने के इनपुट्स पुलिस को मिले हैं, जिसके बाद ये सर्चिंग की जा रही है। चूंकि जो हमारे सूत्र हैं और पुलिस का ये दावा है कि जो धार्मिक स्थल होते हैं जहां पर भी वहां सस्ते लॉज, धर्मशाला या ऐसी जगह उपलब्ध होती है जहां पर कि आरोपी आसानी से छुप सकते हैं, इसीलिए हो सकता है जो आरोपी है वो यहाँ उज्जैन में हो। इसीलिए उज्जैन के बस स्टैंड, रेलवे स्टेशन, इस समय हम बेगम बाग इलाके में यहाँ पर भी पुलिस की टीम जो है सर्चिंग कर रही है। हम आपको लाइव तस्वीरें दिखा रहे हैं जिसमें कि पुलिस की टीम जितने भी संदिग्ध लोग हैं उनसे पूछताछ कर रही है। इसके अलावा जहां जहां पुलिस को इनपुट मिल रहा है वहां पुलिस की टीम जा रही है और मुंबई पुलिस की टीम भी उज्जैन पुलिस की टीम के साथ सर्चिंग में लगी हुई है। सबसे बड़ी बात यह है कि जिस तरह से एनसीपी नेता की हत्या की गई, कॉन्ट्रैक्ट किलिंग की गई, उसके बाद पूरे देश में इसी खबर को लेकर चर्चा है, क्योंकि लॉरेंस बिश्नोई जो गैंग है उसने पूरे हत्याकांड की जिम्मेदारी ली है और इसके बाद से उसी गैंग से जुड़े लोग जहां जहां हो सकते हैं उनकी सर्चिंग के लिए, उनकी तलाश के लिए पुलिस की टीमें लगी हुई हैं। न सिर्फ उत्तर प्रदेश, हरियाणा, इसके अलावा मध्य प्रदेश का भी कनेक्शन जुड़ गया है। और ये जो आप तस्वीरें देख रहे हैं ये उज्जैन के कई ऐसे इलाके हैं जहां पर कि हम मौजूद हैं। पुलिस की टीम जो है वो सर्चिंग कर रही है और पूरे दलबल के साथ ही सर्चिंग की जा रही है, क्योंकि पुलिस को ऐसे पुख्ता इनपुट हैं कि जो एक फरार आरोपी है हत्याकांड में शामिल शिव कुमार गौतम, जिसने कि इस पूरे मामले का सुपारी ली थी कॉन्ट्रैक्ट किलिंग के लिए, उसके इनपुट जो है वो हमें यहाँ से मिले हैं पुलिस को कि वो उज्जैन में हो सकता है। और इसी लिहाज से ये जो सर्चिंग है वो यहाँ पर उज्जैन की इन गलियों में की जा रही है। तो ये हमने तस्वीरें आपको दिखाई। इसी तरह पुलिस की टीम उज्जैन में जगह जगह पर सर्चिंग कर रही है। इनका ये तर्क है, ये दावा है कि अगर आरोपी उज्जैन में कहीं भी होगा तो उसे ढूंढकर जल्द से जल्द गिरफ्तार किया जाएगा।
ये कौन से गैंग के है शिवा? कौन से गैंग के है सत्य विजय? Which gang does he belong to? What more do we know about the third accused in Ujjain?
जी देखिए, अब तक का जो इनपुट है उसके मुताबिक शिव कुमार गौतम इसी ने सुपारी ली थी लॉरेंस बिश्नोई गैंग से, और शिव कुमार गौतम के ही कहने पर फायरिंग वहां पर की गई जहां पर कि बाबा सिद्दीकी की हत्या हुई। अब चूंकि जब सिद्धू मूसेवाला की हत्या हुई थी 2000
Yes, sir. Mind लगा हुआ है ना? The government of Canada has done what India has long been asking for. Canada has provided credible, irrefutable evidence of ties between agents of the government of India and a murder of a Canadian citizen on Canadian soil. Now it is time for India to live up to what it said it would do and look into those allegations. It is in the interest of both our countries and the peoples of our countries to get to the bottom of this. Canada stands ready to cooperate with India.
The Canadian charge d'affaires there, the Canadian charge d'affaires making a statement after being summoned by the Ministry of External Affairs. The Canadian charge d'affaires claims there is irrefutable evidence. India has countered that claim strongly, saying that since the Prime Minister of Canada, Trudeau, made certain allegations in September 2023, the Canadian government has not shared a shred of evidence with the government of India despite many requests from our side. And that this latest step follows interactions that have again witnessed assertions without any facts. That's the official Indian stand, even though Canadian diplomats maintain and claim that there is evidence that has been shared. If there was evidence shared, then where is that evidence? What is that evidence? Because the government of India has said clearly that there is not a shred of evidence given by the Canadian government under Trudeau since making those allegations 1 year ago in September 2023. I'm going to play out that soundbite once again. That Canadian charge d'affaires made a statement minutes after his meeting at the Ministry of External Affairs. He was summoned by India following a very, very strong response to the diplomatic communication that came in from Canada initially, saying that India has said in its response that they received a diplomatic communication from Canada on Sunday suggesting that the Indian High Commissioner and other diplomats are persons of interest in a matter related to an investigation in that country. Here's the response to the Canadian diplomat after being summoned by the MEA today.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I have a statement to make. Hold on. Careful. The government of Canada has done what India has long been asking for. Canada has provided credible, irrefutable evidence of ties between agents of the government of India and a murder of a Canadian citizen on Canadian soil. Now it is time for India to live up to what it said it would do and look into those allegations. It is in the interest of both our countries and the peoples of our countries to get to the bottom of this. Canada stands ready to cooperate with India.
We'll take a short break. That was a statement that came in from the Canadian Charge d'Affaires. Canada once again claiming there is evidence when it has shared none. Taking a break, back with the headlines and the debate at 8 p.m. with Arnab on Trudeau's true face being unmasked, trying to drag in Indian High Commissioner, Indian diplomats into this. Stay tuned.
India-Canada diplomatic showdown. MEA calls out Trudeau's vote bank politics. India stand clear, no more smear campaign. Debating tonight at 8 p.m.